Either I'll be entertaining enough for people to listen, or I will be good cure for insomnia. One of the two. Either way, it's a bonus. Hello and welcome to the Part-Time Gamers, the gaming podcast for people with full-time lives. I am Cyranex, clocking in. That's it. This is going to be a little bit of an experiment because my co-hosts couldn't make it today, it seems, and I've been meaning to experiment with a solo show anyway. It's kind of been of a this is my passion project, so I kind of want it to be able to go with it, even if it's just me. So this is going to be an experiment. This is going to be either you enjoy the sound of my voice this whole time, or I'm going to be a good cure for insomnia. One of the two. I consider both a win. So, yeah. And this episode is it's going to be all me anyway. We're a little bit of a preview. We're going to be talking about our games of the year, and each episode is going to be one of our hosts. So today was going to be mine anyway. So it's going to be a lot of me kind of fanboying about my top games of the year. So, but before that, let's go ahead and get to our water cooler talk.
You get that thing I sent you?
Yeah.
And also, since it's just me, I will be interacting a little bit with the chat. Yes, Lucky Phil, thank you. Yes, my co-hosts have been caught in the merpening. If you don't know what the merpening is, just watch the morning stream, watch the chat in there. Me and or Phil are all in there, and merp is a thing for us. So yeah, it's inside joke. Anyway, yeah, I'm the only article that I got here. So, but before we get into my article, I did want to mention that as of the recording of the show, we're recording on December 1st. You have 3 more days for the Steam Autumn Sale. There are some phenomenal deals on there. Let's put it this way. I got 3 different games. I got Detroit Become Human, Slime Rancher, and Half-Life Alyx. I got all of those 3 games for $35. That is an amazing deal. You have until Wednesday. You have the next 3 days to take advantage of this autumn sale. I've seen 90% off on some games. Like Slime Rancher was 90% off. I got it. That game was $2. And I mostly got it for my kids, but I might dive into it too. So, but yeah, definitely go take advantage of that. My wallet is not safe. I have a couple other games I've been looking at, but I'm going to restrict myself to those 3 for now. I've been wanting to get Half-Life Alyx for a while. I have the headset for it, the VR headset for it now. So I've been wanting to get back and get into that phenomenal game. And Detroit Become Human, a little bit of a spoiler. I might be talking about that next month. Yes, and I do check on Epic as well. Lucky Phil mentioned, got it free from Epic. Check them every Friday. I do check on Epic as well. Apparently I missed that though. Yeah, I figured it was Slime. I think I saw it on there at some point, but that was before my kids had any interest in it. And that's the primary reason why I got it, was for my kids. We have it on my Switch Lite right here, but it's a Switch Lite. It doesn't run very well. So I've been considering trying to figure out how to hook up my computer to our TV upstairs, so that I can play games up there, and I can set up Slime Rancher and they can play it up there potentially. They'd have to start all over again, but they could manage that, and it would be on a better system. So that was one of the primary reasons why I picked it up. And again, it's $2. It's nothing. So yeah, of all the games I had on my wish list, that was the easiest one to justify. But yeah, like I said, you got until Wednesday. Sale's still going on right now. Still really good deals. Just check that out. But to my article, so one game that has it's been a roller coaster the entire existence of this game is No Man's Sky. So No Man's Sky started off, was not faring well. It got just panned by critics, by the ratings on Steam and everything. But finally, after 8 years, 8 years of them persistently and consistently putting out free content over and over and over again over the last 8 years, they have managed to bring their Steam rating up to a very positive, which is an 80%. Oh, yeah. So they have finally gotten up to an 80% positive overall rating on Steam, which after the ratings from the beginning of the game, that is a very difficult thing to do. Since they've started doing all these updates, their recent reviews have been very high. Like I think their recent reviews, if I can bring up my Steam, oh, do 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 do. No Man's Sky, No Man's Sky, No Man's Sky. Where is that in my list? Solo show. Um, yeah, like their recent reviews, their last like almost 6,500 reviews on Steam are overwhelmingly positive, 97%. And yeah, and they're all reviews. 250,000 reviews on Steam, by the way, 250,000 reviews on Steam. And they finally have hit a very positive rating on that. This is one of the exceptions to the rule when it comes to gaming. Yeah, this is one of the exceptions to the rules. A lot of times when a game starts off very poorly, like this did, it never recovers. Or the company just okay, they're going to cut their losses and just go on with from there. And there's so many stories about that. There's so many kinds of games that this has happened to. Instead, they hunkered down. This is the success story. Like one of the biggest success stories in gaming. Taking this game that was started off with such a mediocre launch and turning it into really a masterpiece. Just consistent updates over and over and over again, and none of it being paid DLC either. That's the other big thing. If this was any other country or any other game company, they would have charged for all of these updates, or they would have at least tried to charge for all of these updates. But I think Hello Games did a really good job with just coming up with all of these really great updates, really great additions to the game over and over and over again over the last 8 years. Now, granted, I'm very happy for No Man's Sky, for them being able to finally get up to a very positive rating on Steam. It took a lot of work, and they deserve it definitely now. That being said, No Man's Sky has kind of become a game that I understand the interest in a lot of sandbox games. Like this is smacking my mic. Apologize. This has been a consistent thing for me in general when it comes to games. I'm not a big fan of sandbox games. I like to have direction. I like to have a story. I like to have an end to a degree, or like some kind of incremental objectives. No Man's Sky is very much hey, here's an entire galaxy worth of planets. Go explore. Go find new things. Go build bases. Go, find new ships, stuff like that. And again, with any kind of game that says, go and do anything, my immediate response is, why? So, but the time, like, granted, that being said, I do have over 100 hours in No Man's Sky. Oh, and on my Steam account, I have 156 hours in No Man's Sky. So I definitely got some time in it. Oh, and one of the cool things about it is you can play it in VR. That's actually how I played it with my friends at the time, just experimenting with VR. It was actually kind of fun. Oh, but just wanted to bring that up because just to kind of counter a lot of the negativity in gaming with just layoffs all over the place, with all kinds of just I wanted to bring up a little bit of positivity, and this I think is a game, not just a game, but a game studio that I think deserves the accolades for what they've done over the last 8 years. Um, they've done incredible work. Then they've consistently come up with more content, better improvements, and stuff like that. So I thought that was a pretty fun article just to bring up that they have finally reached very positive on Steam. So yeah. Also, if you can't guess, with this being just me, just a solo show right now, it might be a little bit shorter than we're used to. Normally, we try to get up to about an hour, uh, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to hit that today. But I still wanted to give you a little bit of content anyway. And again, I didn't want to finish off the year having to skip an episode. So, yep. All right. But before we get back to work, I did want to mention our Patreon, patreon.com/ptgcast. If you like what you're hearing, or you want to pay us for our cure for insomnia, you can go there. $1, $5, $10. It all helps out. It's all very useful. Help us pay our help pay put words good in mouth out of. Yeah. Patreon.com/ptgcast. And with that, let's go ahead and get back to work.
Morning break is over. Morning break is over.
So for this month, it's the end of the year. It's December, and one thing that's going to be happening soon. Actually, I don't know when, but pretty soon, is we're going to have the Games Awards. So we're going to be talking about Games of the Year, and the way we're going to be doing it this month is we're going to be talking about, or each host is going to be taking an episode to talk about their top 3 games of the year. I'm starting off. We're going to be talking about my top 3 games of the year. We're not going to be doing like categories or anything like that. It's just the 3 games that we've enjoyed playing the most this past year. And it doesn't have to be games that we've talked about on the show. It's just going to be games that we've played. In fact, one of the games I'm going to be talking about, we have not talked about on the show, but the first 2 we have. And so starting, I don't have any of these in any particular order, but one of my top 3 games of the year has to be Helldivers 2. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster with that game as well this year, and I think the studio is doing really good work trying to listen to the community, trying to solve the problems that have been coming up with Helldivers 2. It's just a phenomenal game. I'm still playing it. I've actually gotten into it even more, and there was a period of time shortly after the whole Sony debacle with Helldivers 2 that the population of it really took a hit. We were getting down to like 20,000. I think at its lowest it was still getting like 20,000 or so players concurrently, which, it started off at like 200,000, I think, when it first launched, and then fell back down or whatnot. And but after the recent updates last month and the month before, I've consistently seen numbers back up to like 50,000, which is, I mean, that's not. It's difficult to gauge. To me, 50,000 concurrent players, is still a lot. It's a lot of players to be playing a game like this. And I see that almost every night. It's pretty consistent that you get like 50,000 people playing it, at a time. And it's still such a good fun time. And it's funny because the things that they do in Helldivers 2 shouldn't work. On paper, you hear this, the things that they do, and it just doesn't, it shouldn't work. It's like, when you're some things as simple as when you reload, if you reload with ammo still in the magazine, you lose that ammo. It's like, if you tried to do that in any other shooter, you would get mocked and disregarded. Like if you tried to do something like that in a Call of Duty, it would just ruin it. It works so well in here. And it's like, even just like I recently saw a video talking about one of the updates that they had recently, where he even complimented how death is a mechanic. It's like you're not in a traditional first-person shooter, you're getting points, you're losing points or whatever for every time you die or whatever. That's not the case with this. Death is going to happen. I mean, if you get through a game without dying, you either got really lucky or everyone else on your team was dying to save your life. Because you're most likely going to die. But the awesome thing is, it's easy to get back in, and it's a mechanic in the game, meaning that you can use that death to your advantage, because you come flying down in a hell pod, which is basically an orbital bullet. And if you land on an enemy, perhaps the tank or whatever that just killed you, you can destroy the tank. So it's a really just kind of out of the box mechanics and ideas in this game. They work so well. And I think one of the reasons why it works so well is because it's such a departure from the mainstream. Like I said, a lot of these things on paper, if you're trying to get someone like who's a Call of Duty or what other traditional shooters, if you try to convince them to play this, they're probably going to laugh at you, because it's like, you lose your ammo, you can't jump superhuman distances, you can't, all these things. It just works somehow. And I think it's because it's such a departure from everything else. I do think there is that nostalgia level of, anyone who's seen the movie Starship Troopers, this is basically a legally distinct Starship Troopers game. It's just such a, like, to me, this is still pretty much game of the year. Despite the fact that the whole PlayStation debacle with the requiring the PlayStation account and everything kind of ruined it for a while. Kind of soured the game, and then just a couple of the balancing decisions that they made kind of soured the game for a while. But like I said, they made a commitment to improve things. After debuffing, or after nerfing a bunch of the weapons, they went back and said, hey, okay, our community wants things to be cool. We can go a little bit ridiculous with this. We don't necessarily have to have every weapon equal. Nothing has to be super balanced per se. Because it is a co-op game, it's not competitive at all. So they went back, buffed up a bunch of weapons, including some of my favorites, like the Eruptor. The Eruptor is still arguably one of my favorite weapons in the game. It's basically like a bolt action, like mini missile launcher, basically. It fires jet propelled ammunition that explodes and sprays shrapnel on whatever it hits. Really powerful weapon, bolt action, terrible reload speed and everything, but it kills lots of things, and it's still one of my favorite weapons. They buffed that back up. They've, I really appreciate the developers for Helldivers 2, because they listened to the community. They addressed the issues. They made a commitment, a 60-day commitment to it, and they followed through. And that is one of the biggest reasons why right now it's bounced back so much. I mean, it's like more than almost close to doubled its player base after these updates took place. So it's in a much better place now, which I appreciate because I still enjoy playing it. Oh, I have a couple goals in mind that are like not self-inflicted, but self-imposed goals of like unlocking modules and stuff like the ship modules, and so that I've been going in there and doing a couple missions, getting my samples, trying to work towards unlocking the ship modules and everything, and I mean it's just a fun game to keep going back to because again it's all co-op. I there was a period like one night I think last month where I got seduced by Overwatch 2, some videos on Overwatch 2, and so I played a couple matches for like the Halloween event that they had a couple months or like last month, and I suddenly remembered why I despise competitive shooters. I get tilted way too easily, and promptly uninstalled Overwatch 2 again and went back to Helldivers 2 because I love the co-op experience. I love being able to head towards a goal with friends, and that being said, I've gotten to get a whole party with just my actual like real life friends playing Helldivers 2, and it's always hilarious because we're always like my friend's son is the best of all of us, and all the rest of us playing are just constantly dying, and it's just such a blast. So, just being able to go into a game with your friends and just have hilarity ensue, bombs exploding, bug guts flying everywhere, robot grease going on you and everything, and just accidentally killing your allies. It's just still such a fun game. Oh, yes, I could always use more friends, specifically ones who enjoy playing the same games as I do. Uh, but it's still very high up on my list of games that I enjoy. There's been like a steady rotation of games that I play lately. That's definitely on that rotation. Still having a lot of fun with it. And probably will for a while still. And I don't know what they still have a whole lot of stuff that they could potentially do in this. There's still only like anyone familiar with the previous iteration of this, the original Helldivers. There's 3 different factions in the original Helldivers. One of those factions is not present in Helldivers 2 yet. So at some point, if they ever hit a lull or whenever they're planning it, they can introduce that third enemy, and we can start attacking them too. So there's still places we can go. There's still weapons and equipment and stuff like that from the original game that they haven't introduced into the new one yet. So there's still a lot of space for them to improve, for them to go. I'm looking forward to it. I can't say I'm playing it every single night, but I've been playing it quite a bit, like probably 3-4 times a week, and really just having a good time with it. And if anyone's wondering if it's still worth it to get into it now, it is. Like I said, the community is actually pretty strong now. It is one of the, I've only had a couple because normally I do just quick play with randos, and a lot of times there have been very, very few occasions where I've had any issues with other people. The community is actually surprisingly kind. And just having a good time. So it's still very much worth it to get into it even now after, like, when did it even come out? I still have my Steam open. It came out in February, so even 10 months later, it's still a good time, still worth it to get into. Having a lot of fun with it. And it's definitely one of my top 3 games of the year. Moving on to the next game that I have for my top 3 games of the year. We have talked about this when it was still in early access. Talked about it, I think it was like 8 months ago, something like that. I think it was back in March. It has hit 1.0 and has been really good. Talking about Satisfactory. That is another game that I have spent over 100 hours in again since it hit 1.0. Like looking at my Steam account right now, I have over 300 hours in this game, which is insane. Now, granted, that's over the entire. That includes early access, and everything like that. So, like just in the newest factory that I made, that I started with 1.0, I already have over 100 hours in it. So that's how big of a deal this game is to me this year. I like the changes that they made with 1.0. They did one thing that I was really looking forward to was the story. Now, the story is interesting because it definitely changes your perspective on what's happening around you and what the things that you're doing, but it's not so intrusive that it takes away from just the pure factory building part of the game. And it revolves around those alien artifacts. Prior to 1.0, the alien artifacts did literally nothing. They even said in the name, work in progress. Since 1.0, those alien artifacts now do something, and they have functions in your factory, first of all, but every time you pick them up, they give you a little bit of a story element, and it starts like there's this instructional AI called Ada that keeps talking to you, giving you messages, giving you tutorials and stuff like that. The alien artifacts start interacting with her, and in very interesting ways. And I don't think I've hit the end of the story elements yet. But it is very, very interesting how things have been changing with Ada. But in addition to that, they have new technology, new buildings, and everything that revolve around these alien artifacts. There's two of them. There's the Summer Sloop and the Mercer Spheres. The Summer Sloops are basically focused around power manipulation and production, stuff like that. So, for example, you can take some of the Summer Sloops, use them to create a power enhancer. There's a building that produces power on its own, but it also increases the amount of power over the entire grid that's connected to it by a percentage. So you can get a lot more power that way, which is really important because the other way you can use it is you can put directly into your production buildings, and it just doubles the production without increasing the input. So, for example, you're building something, and normally you can get 5 per minute. It's like for X amount of resources. You put the Summer Sloops in there, and it just doubles the output without increasing the input, which can be very powerful. It also takes a lot of power. It's a lot. So having the increased power from the power enhancer is a big deal. It's coming up with new power sources and everything like that. And then you get the Mercer Spheres, which arguably I think are even better, that are more important, because one thing that they have incorporated is, what is it called? The Dimensional Depot. So normally you have to have like a physical, quote unquote, physical box to store items in. And these boxes are very big. Like the basic version is, I think, 24 or 25 slots? I think it's 24. You can fit 24 stacks of items in the box, which is a lot. And then they have an even bigger one, which doubles that. So you can get a lot of physical storage. The problem is, in order to get these items, you have to be at the box. They incorporated something called the Dimensional Depot, which, instead of putting it into a physical location, it puts it into a dimensional location. Which, what that means is, whatever goes into the Dimensional Depot, you can just pull out anywhere. You don't have to be at a physical box or anything like that. So you're out exploring the world, but you've come across a escape pod or whatnot that you want to open, but you don't have the resources directly in your inventory, you can open up the Dimensional Depot, effectively download the materials you need into your inventory and use it there, and then re-upload the materials back into the depot. It's not, it, it changes the game really, because now instead of having my factory go like spaghettify all the way into a physical box that I have to go, which granted does store more, I have a Dimensional Depot uploader at the end of each of my little module factories, and they just go right into there. Now, the disadvantage is that it can only hold a certain number of stacks of each item. Oh, so you can only hold like a maximum, I think, like 5 stacks of a single item. Oh, but you can hold however many items there are. There's no limit to the kinds of items that you can store in there. There's only a limit on how many of each individual item you can store in there. Which to me isn't a big deal at all. The advantage of being able to just pull it out anywhere, context, pull the items out wherever you are, vastly supersedes the whole storage aspects of it, because it's very rare that I'm using 5 stacks of an item at one time anyway before it gets re-uploaded. But yeah, I'm really enjoying Satisfactory. Like I said, I've already put another 100 hours into my newest factory, which I need to go back to. There's still changes I need to make. Oh, and it's definitely high up there on my list as well of games of the year. The 1.0 update has been awesome. Oh, I'm so glad for Coffee Stain. They've really have done such a great job with this game. Definitely did, like I'm looking at the Steam reviews right now. Recent reviews 99%, overall reviews 97%. Just phenomenally well done. They're another company that has really listened to their community and have made changes. I still remember at one point there's something that is that the community commonly refers to as cheatcrete, which there was actually a glitch. It was originally a glitch that was introduced in one of the early access updates, that made it so that foundations clipped through each other. You could stack foundations on top of each other to make different shapes that normally you wouldn't be able to make. So like community members figured out how to make round foundations, so they could make buildings that were round instead of a grid. They then Coffee Stain found this glitch, fixed it. The community didn't like it. They wanted to have it. They wanted to have something like that. So they listened. They listened to the community. They went back and better defined the boundaries of their items and created a what was it? Oh, like a soft and hard clipping mechanic. So like certain buildings had certain boundaries that you couldn't clip through, but other kinds of buildings had some like it made it a lot more interesting, because now they basically reintroduced the cheatcrete glitch originally, and turned it into like a legitimate mechanic throughout the rest of the buildings in the game as well. So it's really is great seeing these companies succeed this much by listening to their community. I mean, that's really what it came down to, is they listened to their community, they fixed whatever issues that were coming up, and they made a great game. Now, it took them, I don't know how many years to finally get to 1.0, but they did the work, and they made a great game in the process. So it's that this is going to be a game I go back to again. This is another really good game. when I have to, take care of kids and stuff like that, I need to be able to have something that I can pause and go take care of stuff upstairs. So I like that. This is definitely a game for that. I haven't gotten to the multiplayer aspect of it though, which is something I think would be kind of interesting to get into. But oh, it's just creativity. Oh, and it's such a fun game to just go in and just build stuff. This is one of the few games that I really get into that is just, hey, go build stuff. There's enough direction and linearity to the construction and everything that it doesn't overwhelm that sense of why should I do this type of thing. Um, I mean, yeah, if Jess, if you're up for doing some multiplayer in this, that might be interesting. Oh, just bunch of people making spaghetti. Could be interesting. Although, like, I'm really impressed with the magnitude of like some other people's factories, because like they're like people are having these like continent spanning factories and everything like that. And I was like, I don't get nearly that ambitious. And it's like I want like one factory to build an item and that's it. I don't care about all the super expansive stuff. Uh, but I like the problem solving it and like trying to figure out, okay, how, like, what elements do I have that are plentiful? Where do I have to try to get this stuff? And, all that stuff. So it's a good problem solving game for me. I like doing that kind of stuff. Uh, I like, I've kind of hit a wall in my current playthrough. Uh, I just, my brain's weird. It's like I get to a certain point and it's like, even if a game is ridiculously good, like Helldivers 2 and Satisfactory and the one we're going to be talking about next, I just get to a point where it's like my brain doesn't find enjoyment at all in it anymore, even no matter how good it is. And it's just, that's a me thing. That's a potentially ADHD thing with my head. But that's not to say this game is phenomenal, and I am really looking forward to getting back into it. It's another one of those games that it's not competitive. It's just co-op. Just get or just solo even. Just get to make stuff. Uh, but the last game on my list is is probably not surprising as well, considering my past. World of Warcraft: The War Within. That is my third game of the year. It's a little bit weird because it is an expansion to a game, but I think it's valid enough. It effectively is a new game each time they release an expansion. But yeah, that is my third game of the year. It's another game that I've spent a whole lot of time in. It's another game that because even though it is an MMO, I really like the fact that in this expansion especially they have integrated a lot of solo content, which is great because it's not very often that I'm able to actually play with other people in World of Warcraft. Uh, so I I really do appreciate the fact that they've incorporated a lot more solo content into the game, especially delves. Delves, I think, are one of the best ideas they've had in a long time. Now, granted, there was about a 10-year gap that I didn't play. So, like I missed the whole Shadowlands thing. I missed a lot of that stuff. So, but the gameplay that I've taken part in, primarily Dragonflight and now War Within, it's really good. I think that again, it's one of those situations where they started listening to their community and fixing the issues that were plaguing the game. I think they really buckled down on that in Dragonflight and have just continued through into War Within. I mean, the whole Shadowlands being the way it was, being widely considered one of the worst expansions in World of Warcraft, not just from a gameplay elements, but also like especially story elements. Uh, it was I think that kind of kicked them in the pants a little bit, and they got things working again. And so I all through Dragonflight. No, granted, I'm a little bit biased when it comes to Dragonflight because I have a potentially unhealthy fascination with dragons in general. So having an entire expansion of World of Warcraft dedicated to the Dragonflights, that was just going to get me regardless. And with Metzen being back, you can definitely tell that the story is a lot tighter, a lot more, I think, a lot more consistent. And one thing that I think they're doing really well from Dragonflight on is the story, the actual storytelling elements, not just the like what the beats of the story, but the cinematics uh, are really on point, and it's really impressive. Not just the story they're telling, but how they're telling the story as well. Uh, as one of the most impressive parts of this game, of this expansion, is there's certain points where NPCs will just be sitting around and you can go and click on them and get an option that says stay a while and listen, and they'll go into this whole story based monologue or dialogue between a couple of characters and just give you some more insight into what's going on with them, give you more insight in what's going on with the world around them and all that stuff. It's very lore heavy, very story heavy, and it is very satisfying to experience these stories now. And you can it definitely has the fingerprint of Chris Metzen on it. But like a couple things that I've never really gotten to raids. I've heard that the raid is really good. It's satisfying, but I never really gotten to raiding. The dungeons I haven't really gotten into a whole lot either. The biggest feature that I've gotten into has been delves, and the fact that I can go into delves, and I can actually get meaningful rewards is fantastic. Like, this is the highest geared any of my characters have ever been in any of the expansions, because there's legitimate, worthwhile end game content for people who solo. And it's not to say that it's easy. I mean, it definitely has its difficulty curve, but even being solo, but it's a nice challenge. I like even the little touches that they have in the delves, the different quests, the different stories, the different NPCs that you're interacting with while you're going through the delve. It's just funny. It's entertaining. It's dramatic. It's so well done. And all I gotta say is this expansion is very impressive. I mean, it's like I said, I'm a little bit biased still towards Dragonflight. I think the story in Dragonflight is still better at this point, but we're still in the very early stages. We're only in season 1 of War Within, and the way that they're telling the story, I think, has improved greatly. Even though the story itself is, I think, a little bit simple. But even a simple story told well can be very impactful. And I think they've really hit their stride with this, and I hope that continues through the next seasons of War Within, which they have announced the next major content patch, like what's going to be in it and stuff like that. So they have that. They have like not just I hope that the stays consistent, not just through the content for this expansion, but because the next 2 expansions are going to be extensions of the same story, going to be continuations of the same storyline. I really hope that they keep it consistent through those ones as well, and I think they will. Especially since, again, Chris Metzen is back involved with it, and he's really is the story smith. I think he's always been the story smith when it comes to World of Warcraft. But yeah, that is my top 3 games of the year. And those ones are specifically games that have come out this year as well. I think that's the other stipulation that I had for, at least for myself, not just games I've played this year, but games that actually came out this year. If we went to games that were not from this year, then you could probably have a couple other ones as well. Like Titanfall 2 still is like one of the just most highly snubbed games of all time. That game is fantastic, and just came out at like the wrong time of the year, basically, when it did. There's still some other random games I played this year that are great games, but those 3 in particular are ones that came out this year that I played this year that are my top 3. So those games again are Helldivers 2, Satisfactory, and World of Warcraft: The War Within. All right. I think I've fanboyed enough over these 3 games, so I think that's a good place to call it for the show. Everyone, if you like what you've heard and you'd like to help us out, you can give us a review over on Apple Podcast. You can follow my Twitch and or YouTube channels for the live recordings Sunday nights starting at 9:15 Eastern Standard Time, or you can become one of our patrons over at patreon.com/ptgcast. Again, $1, $5, $10. It's all helpful. All helps pay our paychecks each month. We really do appreciate it. If you'd like to contact us, you can with our email, parttimegamers.cast@gmail.com, or you can join our Discord channel. Everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me today in the chat for this kind of pseudo experimental solo episode. And so, yeah, thank you for listening. Next week, we're going to be doing something similar, except that we're going to have more than one person. We're going to be talking about Theo's top games of the year. And then by process of elimination, the week after that, we're going to be talking about September's top games of the year. I'm Shawn. You can find this show, the rest of my work, and links to my socials, including our Discord channel, my Twitch and YouTube channels, and the Apple Podcast listing, using the link bit.ly/CI Productions. You can find all of Ember's work at 9of12.com, NINEOF12.com. And you can find Theo's work over at swolecast.com/thatoneweirdo and rabbitinredradio.com. Everyone, until next time, I am a part-time gamer. To be accurate, I guess. I'm just going to keep with the normal outro. We are the Part-Time Gamers, clocking out.